people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
De la noche, Stephanie Piñeiro.
That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. News broke earlier today that Matchroom has not made one, but two new signings. Two unbeaten up-and-comers, unbeaten William Ortiz and unbeaten Stephanie Piñeiro, who we're going to focus on here. Stephanie Piñeiro, a fighter that I've talked about several times here on the channel, campaigning at or around welterweight.
Puerto Rican.
I'm going to assume that Chantel Kimran's departure from Matchroom, going over to Queensbury, may have had something to do with this decision, the decision to sign another welterweight, another talented fighter at or around these weights, an unbeaten one.
A secret weapon.
Stephanie Piñeiro, one of the welterweight division's best-kept secrets, sporting a professional record of 6 wins with no losses, no draws, 2 knockouts.
She can box and she can bang. She's big for this weight.
She's got height, she's got length, not dissimilar from what you see from Sandy Ryan. Distinct possibilities for Stephanie anywhere in between
Walter.
147, 154, I think as high as 160.
In the future.
I think when they signed this fighter with the welterweight division in mind, 147 pounds, fortifying their stake, their stable there. Now they have Sandy Ryan, WBO champion, and Stephanie Piñeiro, who was last in action in December of last year, opposite the ring veteran journeywoman of Brazil, Simone Silva.
So what's the virtue here? What's the plan?
It's very obvious what the plan is. They're beefing up their stable of Puerto Rican fighters as William Ortiz, Stephanie Piñeiro.
They're both Puerto Rican.
In addition to reigning IBF champion Subriel Matias, in addition to unbeaten up-and-comer Edgar Berlanga, it's very obvious that Matchroom now understands the value of the Puerto Rican fighter in the American market. That in many ways, the Puerto Rican fighter is to the East Coast what the Mexican fighter is to the West and the Southwest.
They both have fiercely loyal fan bases, loyal to their flags, their native heritage.
So if you're doing shows in, say, New York City, in the tri-state area, it does help to move some tickets if you have Puerto Rican talent on the card. The same obviously applies to the island of Puerto Rico if you're doing shows there. My best guess is that both William Ortiz and Stephanie Piñeiro will be making their Matchroom debut on the undercard of Subriel Matias versus Liam Paro, a fight that's set to go down in Puerto Rico on the island.
If you go over to BoxRec right now, you will notice that the undercard isn't set.
Scheduled for June 15th, I'm going to assume that both William and Stephanie will make their Matchroom debuts there, and moving forward, they might make appearances on, say, Edgar Berlanga's undercards in New York, in the tri-state area, where he sells all right.
Package them together.
Because when the Puerto Rican fight fans get going, when the Puerto Rican fans get behind a fighter, they really get behind a fighter.
They're loyal.
And it shows up in the numbers. Now that Stephanie Piñeiro will be boxing on the Matchroom banner, they can get her on a more regular schedule of fights than what we've been seeing since she debuted way back there in September of 2019. She's been toggling between the amateurs and the pros.
This really gives her a leg up in the pros, though.
So what title should she go after? No, I don't think they signed Stephanie with the intention of putting her in the ring with Sandy. I think they signed Stephanie with the intention of sicking her on the winner of Jonas versus Mayer.
That's it.
I think they signed Stephanie with the intention of eventually sicking her on Lauren Price. To a lesser extent, Ivana Habazin. These are the champions at this weight. I think they signed Stephanie so that they can have two stallions, two prize stallions at this weight collecting the belts. Sandy's already got one. They're gonna use Stephanie to get some more.
And if the politics prove to be too difficult, too much, they can always move her up to 154.
154 in the titles that are there, they're ripe for the picking. They're ripe for the taking.
She can do it.
They promote this kid right. The Puerto Rican following that she could amass could bring attention to the junior middleweight division that it is not otherwise getting right now. Now that all the big names have left and moved down. If one day Stephanie should move up there and campaign there, fight for belts there, it'll get that division more coverage and more opportunities for herself and her opponents. So it works. It works all the way around. I think somebody at Matchroom must be listening, because I'm one of the only channels that was aware of this talented, unbeaten up-and-comer and the possibilities if the right promotional outfit picks her up.
Stephanie's a winner. This is a good signing. I look forward to seeing what Matchroom can do for this fighter.
In men's heavyweight news, Tyson Fury reacted to his father's headbutting of Usyks' team member by saying, "I saw some idiot chatting shit and they got banged." End of. What a way to sell a fight. My dad's an excellent salesman and he's done a fantastic job. Half his age and he's nutted him.
He's whatted him?
What he actually did was launch an unprovoked attack on a member of Usyk's team who wasn't even saying anything. The man doesn't speak English.
So what could he have said to your father? Not that he said anything, because the video's crystal clear.
He wasn't talking, he wasn't chanting, he wasn't doing much of anything aside from trying to make his way through the crowd before John Fury turned around, turned to him, and headbutted him for absolutely no reason other
Then he was the smallest guy in the room.
Yeah, Tyson and John want to pass it off as some kind of fighting man shtick, some kind of Spartan shtick, when you were in a couple of guys' faces, guys that are closer to your size than that one was, but you didn't decide to get physical until you saw somebody smaller than you are.
It was a coward's move, a cowardly thing to do, and that's what people are saying.
It's what Farrell Crotch is saying. He sticks the nut on some small skinny kid from Team Usyk, cuts his own head open. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful what he's done. He should be embarrassed. Typical big bully, isn't he? Picked on the smallest guy there, but guess what? He came off worse. He got a big cut on his head, all claret down his face. What an idiot.
Idiot is right.
John Fury was asked about those comments from Carl Froch and Simon Jordan criticizing his headbutt. Them people are not even worth mentioning. Stand here and slate me. They all talk behind the camera miles away, but they won't face the big John Fury face to face. If they do, they're stupid men, because that is where their last stand will be. I don't care who they are. I'm the king of the bare knuckle men, and I can beat them on the streets. Does he actually hold any titles in bare knuckle? Any titles that we know of? Or is that just more hyperbole?
He can try to frame it however he wants. We all saw what he actually did and what actually happened. You targeted the smallest guy there because you thought he was low-hanging fruit, and in the end, you only hurt yourself. The only blood you spilled was your own.
Because you are too fucking old to still be playing the tough guy, the football hooligan.
Have a seat, old man.
What, you're gonna go settle it on the cobbles with Carl Froch? Is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna go settle it on the cobbles with anybody that's got something to say? A lot of people have got something to say. Because you wore out your welcome. It's not charming anymore.
Was it ever?
The way he so obviously lives vicariously through his son, trying to monopolize all the attention and make it about him, make it about himself, when it's not about you.
It never was.
You're there to service as moral support for your son. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not the John Fury show.
You know, this is why I like George Kambosos' dad so much, and Kenny Porter.
They didn't necessarily try to steal the thunder from their sons whenever a camera or a microphone was pointed at them.
They didn't take their son's success as an opportunity to see themselves become uber celebrities like John has been doing.
It's not John in the main event this weekend. It's not John we're all paying to see. It's Tyson Fury, opposite the ring, Alexander Usyk. Tyson,
He was asked about mind games.
what is supposed to be Tyson Fury's trademark mind games ahead of this Usyk fight. He said, "I'm living in his mind rent-free for sure. People say you can't get in his mind. I'm already in his mind. He thinks about me every time. He gets up in the morning, every time. He closes his eyes, his heart's beating out of his body, thinking about the Gypsy King. Every time he brushes his teeth or takes a piss, he thinks about me and my fat body. And he knows I'm coming for him. I'm in his mind, rent-free. I'm living in his head.
I do think Fury is on Usyk's mind, though not in all the ways that Fury is telling it, not the way that he's describing it. Fury is definitely Usyk's focus, but he's not having the effect on Usyk that he had on Klitschko ahead of their fight, or the effect that he had on Wilder.
Why?
Because he hasn't grown complacent over time like Vladimir Klitschko did when Fury fought him.
And he's not an egomaniac who drunk his own Kool-Aid like Wilder did.
It's not the same thing.
If Tyson Fury's mind games are not having the effect on Usyk that they had on those fighters, it's because these are very different circumstances. Usyk still has that fire in the belly. He still wants that last brass ring.
And he has an underdog's mindset.
When Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury for the very first time, he was the favorite. He was the favorite to win, and the circumstances were very different. He was fighting a guy who was recovering from morbid obesity and substance abuse, whereas Usyk is fighting, he's fighting what is supposed to be the best heavyweight in the world, at least to some people.
Usyk isn't picking a cherry in Tyson Fury like Wilder was picking a cherry in Tyson Fury. Wilder got more than he bargained for.
Yeah, it blew up in his face, but from the very beginning, he only fought Fury because he thought Fury was in a weakened state, because he thought it was a good time to fight him. Whereas Usyk's only fighting this guy because he's a champion, because he's supposed to be one of the best guys in the world, if not the best guy in the world. Totally different mindset.
Usyk's not looking for low-hanging fruit. He's looking for that last brass ring.
Now, as it pertains to this weekend's fight, it was reported that IIJoshua has arrived in Saudi to be in attendance for this weekend's showdown. And to that, Fury says Joshua's Saudi trip is in vain because of Usyk's rematch clause.
That there may be two fights between them.
Tyson Fury says IIJoshua is wasting his time being in Riyadh for the fight on Saturday between Fury and Usyk at the Kingdom Arena in Saudi Arabia. Fury and Usyk will finally battle for the undisputed heavyweight title, and do so with a rematch clause already in play for them to fight again later on this year. Joshua is already in Riyadh for what could prove the most significant fight of the year. His recent victory over Francis Ngannou means he is on course to challenge the winner, but Fury has reminded him of how futile his presence is when he first expects to fight Usyk again.
That's if he wins.
That's if Fury wins. What Fury's saying is he expects there to be a second fight because he's going to win the first one, and when he does, Usyk will activate his rematch clause. But what if it happens the other way? What if Usyk wins?
Does Fury activate the clause?
Depending on how Usyk wins, because some people are of the opinion that Usyk's going to wear him out. He's going to wear him out like he wore Tony Bellew out at cruiserweight. He's going to wear him out
Like he wore out Daniel Dubois.
Some people think he's going to stop Fury this weekend, not because he punches so hard, but because his cardio is so good, and because Fury abuses his body with drugs and alcohol. If a mutual respect exists between Fury and the 37-year-old Usyk, the Gypsy King and Joshua have often had a considerably more strained relationship. Joshua is regardless expected to fight an alternative opponent before Fury and Usyk potentially fight again, if they do fight again. There's not such he can build because we have a 2-fight deal. So if he builds what he wants to do, he has to wait until it's over, Fury said. Then we can negotiate. Now, the Saudis are involved, and His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is controlling everything. He can make these fights like that because the money is not a problem, and it's always about money in these deals.
And why they don't get made.
All fights are easy to make in any weight division. Turkey will make them.
So now the difference in a fight is his mindset.
Joshua's and Fury's.
No, Usyk and Fury's.
I don't think for a second. I don't think Tyson Fury would be here right now if he weren't promised a gigantic bag from Turki Al-Sheikh, whereas Usyk is just doing what he always does. Usyk is doing what he would normally do in this situation. Pursue that last brass ring. He did it at cruiserweight, and he's doing it again at heavyweight. I don't get the sense that Fury would be here if not for all that money. That's all that he's fighting for.
And that may not be enough.
The 35-year-old Fury's confidence in victory on Saturday is such that he was asked if a rematch would prove pointless, and he responded, double bubble, isn't it? What are we in this for? Money. If I can get double bubble for one job, there's not much more to be said.
There isn't.
I don't begrudge him his honesty, and this is one of the rare occasions where I actually think Fury's being honest. The only thing he's in it for, the only reason he's doing this is because of the money. If not for Turkey al-Sheikh, I mean, take him out of it. Do you think Fury'd be fighting for Undisputed?
No.
How many times did you hear Tyson Fury blow off the idea of fighting Alexander Usyk, or blow off the idea that he should fight for all the belts? The only reason he's doing this is because they're offering him a fuck ton of money to do it. In that way,
He may not go that extra mile like Usyk will, because Usyk's fighting for money too. Of course he is. He's a prize fighter. But it's not just about the money.
he's not just a prize fighter. He's an Olympian, a gold medalist.
He competed at the highest levels in the amateurs. He competed at the highest levels in the pros, in the cruiserweight division, the heavyweight division. It's consistent with him.
And that's without all the bells and whistles and advantages, without the gimmicks.
Without the red carpet.
I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Usyk might be motivated by more than just money. That, of course, money is a motivating factor. It's a motivating factor for all of us, not just them, me and you. But in this situation between those two fighters, I look at them and I say that it's about more than money to Usyk.
Okay, so what does that mean?
They have a different mindset, and that carries over into how they train, and not just how they train, but how they live in between fights. So where a Fury is slamming down beers and snorting coke, Usyk is still on the job.
In between fights.
Tyson Fury's 35, Usyk's 37, but even though Usyk's 37, I think he's more well-preserved, because in between fights, he's still on the job.
Whereas Fury, in between fights, is treating his nose.
To some people, that doesn't matter. Some people want Tyson Fury to be this proverbial Babe Ruth kind of character, kind of archetype, that he can do all these things that he shouldn't be doing, and still wake up on time to hit a home run in the morning.
Wake up hungover, roll out of bed, make it to the stadium, hit a home run.
Boxing insider Rick Glacier is backing Tyson Fury to win. Former undisputed heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis, he's backing Tyson Fury to win. And Mike Tyson.
He says Fury's too big, he's gonna outsize Usyk.
They're entitled to their opinions. You're entitled to yours. I'm entitled to mine. And I don't think Fury's size is going to be a problem, because even though he's a very big man,
His bread and butter has always been fighting like a smaller one.
his range of motion, his movement, and in that department, I don't think his range of motion and movement is better than Usyk's. You can't beat him at that game.
You had your fitness camp.
Everybody's oohing and eyeing at how much weight Tyson Fury has lost.
That's cosmetic.
I think that's just cosmetic. Ultimately, I don't think Fury is or ever was a better tactician or technician than Usyk.
Don't forget about the cut.
The reason this fight got postponed and got moved to this month, the cut above Tyson Fury's eye, that's another thing you have to factor in.
It could open up.
It hasn't had enough time to heal. We saw what Otto Wallin, a southpaw like Usyk's a southpaw, did to Tyson Fury's face. He sliced him up. Could Usyk do better?
Wouldn't rule it out.
Said it before and I'll say it again. The vote of confidence that Tyson Fury gets in the postmodern era of boxing has everything to do with how he looked against a one-handed puncher, a one-handed limited fighter. But he didn't look that way with Otto Wallin, and years later, he couldn't even look that way with an MMA fighter.
With Ngannou.
So I like Usyk to win.